what's up, hello, my name is Emma and today I'm going to be giving you guys my review of History's All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. I have been waiting until I can talk about this book in all of my gushiness. If you've been watching my videos since like December, you should know that I absolutely loved History's All You Left Me. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was one of my favorite reads of 2016. It recently came out in January, so finally I'm able to film a review and actually talk about all of the content of this with you guys and talk about all of the feels and the sad moments and the good moments and just all of the wonderfulness that is History's All You Left Me. If you didn't know, History's All You Left Me follows our main character named Griffin, who has recently lost the love of his life. His ex-boyfriend Theo has recently died in a tragic accident, and so the book is told in the past tense and the present tense. The past tense really focuses on Griffin and Theo's love story, how they came out to each other, how they started dating, what their relationship was like, and then how it ended. And then the present takes place after Theo has died, and it's all about Griffin and Theo's more recent boyfriend named Jackson forming this unlikely bond because they are the only two people that know what it's like, considering they loved and lost the same person. And so the tenses kind of come together in the middle and they meet up and everything makes sense in the end. And it is just such a wonderful book about love and loss and grief and self-discovery. Just everything about this book is so important, and I truly feel like it's one of those books that everyone should read. I always love Adam's writing style because if you know Adam as a person, you would know without having to see his name on the cover that this is Adam's book. He just has a very distinctive writing style that flows very nicely, that is still very natural, and it sounds like teens are talking, but there's also just something so inherently beautiful about it. And I love all of Adam's books so much, specifically because his writing is so individual. It's also a great diverse read because all 3 of the main characters belong to the LGBT community. I obviously can't speak for the rep, but Adam is known to write very healthy, positive, good representation of the LGBT community, being a gay author himself. So this is an all-around, full package, really fantastic book, and I would highly recommend it to you guys. This video is going to be mostly spoilery because I have so many feelings, so I would recommend going out, getting History's All You Left Me, buying it from a bookstore, or checking it out at your local library, reading it, and then coming back so we can discuss it together because I am super, super pumped to talk about all of my feelings about it with you guys. But that is it for the non-spoiler section, so bye non-spoiler people. Y'all, I am so fucking pumped that I get to talk about this now. So one of the first distinctive scenes in this story for me was when Theo and Griffin decide to come out to Wade together. Wade's reaction is very interesting because I love the fact that he doesn't care that they're gay and like that's not the concern whatsoever. It's 2016, it was a very positive reaction, but what I didn't like is that the only really thing that he says is, "Promise me you won't destroy the squad when you break up." I originally did not like the fact that he kind of made it about himself. It was about how he felt about his friends dating and how it would impact him. It does make sense at the end of the story, so I've forgiven him a bit because it's obviously a bit of jealousy for his previous feelings for Griffin, but I was like, come on man, just celebrate the fact that your best friends are together and they're happy. I really liked the moment when Griffin is kind of analyzing his relationship with Theo. I think it was at the point when they were like just in bed and hanging out together for the first few months of their relationship, and he's like, I have to take this relationship one day at a time. I think this is such an important theme to teach, especially in YA fiction, because every single book, whether it is a contemporary romance or a fantasy or a sci-fi, everyone is like an insta-love, immediately they're together forever, and that's not the way it works. It's so common that when you get into a new relationship, you're just so excited to be with this person that makes you so happy that you kind of get caught up in it and you just want to focus on being with them for a long time, but you do need to step back and realize that things are still new and they can develop in different ways. It just showed me that Griffin has a bit of self-awareness, which is something that lacks in so many YA protagonists, and being someone who is so self-aware, I love being able to see that in fiction. I really loved their first kiss. I like, again, how it's realistic, like their teeth clink, and the way that they talk afterwards, it's like, that was a thing we just did. We should do it more. That scene was just something that I could really relate to my relationship with my boyfriend, and so it was nice to see like a very realistic teenage first kiss for a relationship rather than, and there were birds flapping their wings and there were bells ringing. I really loved the scene when Griffin and Theo both decide to come out to their parents like on a whim at the same moment when they're all together. They were just 100% happy for their kids, and I feel like it was just such a positive experience to include in a book that is filled with so much misery. It was just a really healthy scene, and I feel like it's a word I associate a lot with history, not because every single relationship is healthy or because every action or behavior is super healthy, because it's not true whatsoever. And just in relation to moments like this, when parents are fully accepting of their children, that's a really healthy thought, and that's something that should be spread more in YA because we have so many sad gay stories. So it's important to have a scene like this, and I'm really happy that Adam included it the way that he did. There's also that hysterical moment when Griffin and Theo are buying condoms for themselves and Wade is there, and then Griffin's dad dad is just there and he buys it for them. Oh my god, it was so funny. I loved it. And the fact that his dad is totally cool about it because they're using protection. It's not a vision of sex we get a lot in YA, so just Adam just throwing out all the realistic good things that kids need to hear. One of my favorite scenes between Griffin and Jackson was when they are at Central Park and they're like under the bridge and they start sharing their stories that they have of their different histories with Theo. I feel that was a very groundbreaking moment in their relationship because they were able to be open with each other without being completely competitive about who loved Theo more or who gets to grieve more. They allowed themselves to be vulnerable in front of the other, and I just felt that was a really powerful moment. And their insecurities about the other person were very realistic in my opinion. Like, you know, you have Jackson who's going to be afraid that Theo is going to go back to his first love, and you have Griffin who has lost Theo to this new love, and it was just a really, really wonderfully constructed scene. Oh my god, there are so many good quotes in this book that I feel like are just gonna haunt me with chills every time I think about them. One of my favorite lines is when Griffin is talking to Theo and he says, "You're dead and I'm the worst kind of alive." I just feel like it captures grief so well because yes, you're the one who's alive and that's a blessing, but how are you really living if a piece of you has been torn out of you? I just feel like it really encompassed all of Griffin's feelings at the moment, and it's something that a lot of people go through when they lose someone in a variety of different ways, and I just feel like that's a line that's just, it's really, really gonna stick with me. I think one of the most powerful scenes in this book is when Griffin actually goes back to school and he's in the library and somebody is sitting to his left. Oh my goodness, I was just so happy to see OCD represented in such a raw and authentic way. Something I've noticed a lot in YA literature is that if the main character is dealing with a mental health condition, but it's not the overarching plot of the story, like it's not a novel about them going through this journey of dealing with their mental health issues, a lot of times that core part of them that we would consider to be so important gets pushed to the side in favor of what the actual plot is. I would not say that this book is about Griffin dealing with his OCD. I would say it's about Griffin dealing with the loss of Theo mostly, but his OCD is still so prominent in the best way, and it's so realistic, and it just gave me a lot of hope for YA books concerning mental health in the future, and I just felt like it was perfect representation. I just feel like the scene in the library encompassed compulsions so well because he cannot stop him from asking this stranger to move so he can be on the stranger's left, and he keeps fighting with him and gets so aggressive and defensive because he can't be to this person's left. Like something bad is going to happen, so he needs to be to this person's left. And so as a result, he almost gets written up, he fights with Wade, and it ends with him running away from the dean yelling at him. And the chapter just ends with this fantastic line that is, "This all happened because somebody was sitting to my left." I was just really blown away in this moment, and I just couldn't be happier with the way that Griffin's OCD is represented all throughout the book. And Griffin's OCD even goes beyond that scene. Like, I really loved the moment when Griffin opens up to Jackson about it, and Jackson just totally accepts it and like starts changing his behavior to fit Griffin's needs. Like when Jackson starts listing off things about California, he does it in the certain counting order that Griffin needs it to be, and Griffin notices that he's changing his behavior for it. And so it was just nice to see somebody that Griffin was just beginning to be friends with actually adapt to the needs of his disorder and not make a big deal out of it. Like, this is just the way that I need to be with this friend, and it was really comfortable and healthy. So around here is the point of the book when like I just started getting destroyed on every other page. Griffin is going through one of those moments where he's talking to Theo and he says this line that's like, "You never told him what happened when you were here in June without him, did you? Sorry, that's taboo for now." I just had to put the book down for a moment because it was like, what happened in June? I need to know now. I felt the actual scene where we got to see when Theo is in New York that June was really, really important. I thought it started out as a really important moment for Griffin because he stands his ground with Theo and is like, "You need to tell me what's going on because all this pretending isn't working for me." But then they start talking and Theo admits if Griffin decided to come out to California for school that Theo would break up with Jackson for him, and then they kiss. And I'm like, oh my god, Theo is so fucking manipulative. In that moment, I started to see Theo's true colors, and I spent this whole book imagining him as this great boyfriend that was so wonderful to Theo, and it's such a tragedy that he died. And this is a scene where I started to see, wow, he's abusive as fuck. But I also like how later in the story, when Griffin is really recollecting on this experience, he realizes how blinded by love he was. Like, after this whole experience of being without Theo and then losing Theo and kind of grieving alongside Jackson, he realizes how wrong Theo was in so many circumstances and how he didn't see it because he was so in love with him. And again, I just feel like that's a really important theme to express because so many of us get into relationships that are so serious when we're so long that we don't realize how wrong they could really really be for us. We get to another fucking crazy scene, and it's when we find out that Griffin and Wade have been having this friends with benefits thing going on. It really hurt me because Wade is actually my favorite character out of History's All You Left Me. He is a precious little cinnamon bun. I think he deserves the world, and it hurt me so much to see him being so used by Griffin. I think it was a fantastic plot twist because it made a lot of sense. I think the point where Griffin is in his life right now, where he's just broken up with his boyfriend because he moved across the country and his ex-boyfriend started dating somebody new, I think that frustration absolutely can manifest itself into kind of using sex as a weapon and whatnot, and I just felt it was really realistic and it made sense, and finding out that Wade had feelings for Griffin previously also made a lot of sense. I think the plot twist was more than a plot twist because it held a lot of meaning, and that was important for me. Another really great scene is when Griffin is on the plane with Jackson to California and he says, "If I will fly here for you, where will I go for me?" That was a really important scene for me because I felt like it was the defining moment in the present part of this story where Griffin's journey became less about Theo and more about Griffin. He conquered his fear of flying, which is such an accomplishment, and I feel from here on out it really stopped being about him grieving for Theo and trying to get closure, and really Griffin trying to grow into himself as a separate individual from Theo. I'm confident that this scene made everyone who's reading it go fucking insane. So basically, I spent the entire span of the story saying, I really hope that Griffin and Jackson don't get together. Oh my god, please don't let this be a love story for them, because I recently just read a book before this where two people who were grieving over a lost loved one ended up getting together, and it was like the worst thing ever, and I don't find that romantic at all. So the whole time I was like praying that they didn't get together. So they're getting closer and I see something coming. What I did not see coming was Jackson sharing the zombie kiss that Griffin originally introduced to Theo. That was their thing. I did not see that coming from Jackson's end. And so essentially, Griffin fucks Jackson to hurt Theo. What? I was just going wild while reading, like I could not believe this was happening. That was the moment when I realized what a fucking asshole Theo is and how much I hate him and how everyone who he touched deserved so much better than him. But it was interesting because it was also the moment where I really questioned Griffin's character for the first time. Griffin, who I had loved and wanted to just cradle and protect from the world, this was a really defining moment in his character as well. And with how he treated Wade, it just made me realize, like, I don't agree with a lot of Griffin's actions, and that was kind of like a shock for me because I loved him so much at the beginning of the story. I still love him, but I definitely do think differently of him at this point in the story compared to when I first read it. Overall, it was just an epic moment in the story and really like changed the course of events. Something I really love about History is the way that the story is told. Everything kind of comes together piece by piece by piece, and so you pick up on things in the beginning, but everything doesn't come full circle until the ending. One particular example of this is the actual events that caused Theo's death. When we found out that Theo was on the phone, I automatically thought, oh my god, it was Griffin. But then Jackson admits to the fact that he didn't go in and try and save Theo like everyone thought. He went to go get a lifeguard, and Jackson kind of blames himself for that, and then Griffin blames Jackson for that and thinks that he didn't do enough to try and save Theo's life. And then Jackson opens up about the fact that Theo was on the phone listening to Griffin's voicemail, and then later we found out that Griffin's voicemail was the voicemail he was leaving when he was preparing to tell Theo about him and Wade because they were getting serious. And just, oh my god! This book is such a roller coaster. So my final thing I want to say about this book is I really enjoyed the way it ended. I really like that the story doesn't end with everything being resolved. It ends in this kind of state of moving towards progress and rebuilding and repair. I feel like that's kind of how you need to end a story that is so heavily focused on grief, because it's not like you can wake up one day and be okay. It's a process that's going to take a while, and so I liked how it ended at a point where we could really hope for the future. I'm so happy to hear that Griffin and Wade are trying again and that they're going to see how their friendship works out and maybe develop into more. With Griffin, we have Theo, we have Jackson, and we have Wade, and I'm totally 100% Team Wade. I think Griffin and Wade really complement each other so well. Like, Wade is so patient and understanding, and he gives a lot to Theo, and I think in time Theo can be the same thing for him. And so it's just nice to be able to leave out on a book not knowing that this couple is so perfect and they're going to be together forever, but that they're actually moving towards that. I originally felt kind of conflicted on Griffin and Jackson ending off on good terms like they did, because there were a lot of points where I felt their relationship was really toxic to each other, and there were points where I don't think they were helping each other at all because because they were so competitive over Theo's love. But again, I have a lot of hope that in the future, with them Skyping more and visiting each other, that they can develop a really healthy platonic relationship, that they can really be something for each other rather than just the guy my ex-boyfriend dated. It just ended off at a really leveled note, and I really, really enjoyed that. So those are all of my feelings on History's All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. I loved this book. I want everyone to read this book. It just expresses so many important themes, and it's so different from a lot of YA in like the best ways possible. I would love to know your thoughts on History's All You Left Me. Like, in the comments, just gush. We'll cry together. We'll talk about how many times we were screaming over the books and how we had to throw it because, oh my god, that hate fucking scene. I'm so happy I read this book. I really, really am. There are those moments where you finish a book and you're like, this was everything I wanted it to be and more. And I feel like I'm blessed that I was able to experience it. And that's how I feel about history. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!